And signs of spring are everywhere in South Carolina. So along with the beautiful flowers, you also have pollen, and you may have noticed sneezing, wheezing, and scratchy eyes. And this morning, we want to continue the conversation about how to cope with seasonal allergies. Joining me now is Dr. Brian Heaberlin of Lexington ENT and Allergy at Lexington Medical Center, the expert on all things scratchy, coughing, all of those things. All right, so Dr. Brian, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate you and your expertise, and we have received some viewer questions. So we'd love to go ahead and start with Desmond in Santee, who says, what changes can I make to reduce allergy symptoms?
Well, there are a lot of great over-the-counter options that are available now. There are the antihistamines like Claritin, Zyrtec, Allegra, the generic versions of all those are out. Nasal steroids are also very effective, so Flonase, Nasonex, Rhinocort, there's a bunch of those that are available now that work well and are non-addictive and can really help with congestion and drainage. There's a newer one called Astapro that's azolastine spray. It's something we've used by prescription for a while that's now over the counter. It works in a different way than like Flonase does, but also helps control some of the symptoms. There's some really good allergy eye drops that are antihistamine drops that can help kind of control some of the itchy, watery eyes as well.
Okay, so when we're talking about all of this medication, I know for me sometimes when I go to the drugstore and I walk down the aisle, I'm overwhelmed by all of the options. So how do you figure out which medicine is going to work best for you?
I mean, sometimes it is a little trial and error. Most of the nasal steroids, I think, are probably all relatively similar to one another. So you can just try one and they'll probably be, mostly the same. I think in general, the generic versions of Zyrtec and Allegra are good choices. They're pretty inexpensive and they last 24 hours. I think they're a little better than the generic Claritin, but they all may work, each one may work better for a specific individual, so sometimes you just have to try them and see.
A little trial and error. All right, so also speaking about how to reduce allergy symptoms, outside of medicine, are there things that you can do to help reduce allergies? Like, should I take off, my jacket or something before I walk in the house? Are there things like that that you can do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the pollen does gather on us, and so if you wear a jacket and you come inside and you take that off and you don't kind of keep that on, that can help. Showering after you've been out in a lot of exposure can help. The neti pots or nasal rinses, after you come inside, you can do a rinse and try to help kind of clear some of those pollens out of your nose that way.
Okay.
Trying to stay a little more indoors, although I like to be outdoors. Staying indoors on times when the pollen counts are really high can be helpful to reduce some of your exposure as well.
Absolutely. Shameless plug. Meteorologist Daniel Bonds always telling us when those pollen counts are high.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another viewer question that I would love to get to. This is from Loretta in Sumter, who says, good morning. You guys were talking about cold, allergies, and COVID. How do you know if it's not sinuses or pneumonia? She says she's dealing with like yellow thick mucus and it's in her throat and in the nose. So again, really, how do you differentiate between sinuses and other sicknesses?
Yeah, and again, it can be challenging, to be honest with you. So sometimes it does require testing by a physician. So I'll often, if I'm really suspicious that it's a chronic sinusitis instead of allergies, we'll get a CAT scan of the sinuses, which will kind of definitively tell us whether the sinuses are inflamed or not. Sometimes the characteristics of the drainage, so if it's more thick yellow greens mucus rather than more clear watery mucus, that would argue more that it could be an infectious thing like sinusitis. And similarly with the pneumonia, if you're coughing up, thick things. If you have a fever, you don't get a fever with allergies. So if you're really running a true, fever temperature over 100, then it's more likely to be an infectious problem.
And that's when you need to go see a doctor.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Brian Heaberlin, thank you so much for joining us this morning and giving us your expertise on something that is plaguing so many people in the Midlands right now. We appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you.